And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Darren Jaime, and coming up tonight on Perspectives, we go front and center in the world of politics with the presidential election 2008. The primaries are just about wrapping up all across the country, and the question is going to be who is going to be the Democratic candidate in the race for president, with on the Republican side, John McCain, a virtual lock for the Republican seat. The question now becomes, where do we go from here? And exactly on the Democratic side, who is actually going to be the Democratic nominee? Our guest in studio to try to piece a few of these things together is one person that we know knows politics. His name is Marriah Starr. He's a political analyst for us here at Bronxnet, and he's been on the Open Show as well, but he's also a professor at Lehman College. And we thank you for joining us, Marriah.
My pleasure. It is indeed, because if Barack Obama is able to win Pennsylvania, the last big state, Clinton no longer has any claim to the logic of carrying big states. You know, she carried New York, she carried California, she carried Texas and Ohio. Pennsylvania is the last big state, and she's been saying, hey, if I can carry Pennsylvania, I've got all the big states. Whereas Obama still carried Illinois, Georgia, Virginia, Colorado. Those are also pretty sizable states. So it all comes down to Pennsylvania, which is a critical swing state as well. Pennsylvania's voting April 22nd. After that, you have West Virginia, you have Indiana, you have Oregon. You can expect Obama, he might lose Pennsylvania by about 10, 15 points. But even if he loses Pennsylvania by that margin, he will most likely win the other states, because what we're looking at is the coattail effect. Which Democratic nominee will have the ability to keep those Democrats in office in those swing states, like Ohio, like Pennsylvania, like South Carolina? So as a result, I expect you'll see Obama getting the edge, because he has much more of a coattail effect than Clinton has. When you look at Obama versus Clinton, the margin is approximately 20 points. When Obama's at the top of the ticket, the Democrats below him increase dramatically. When Clinton's at the top of the ticket, they fare very poorly. They will keep that in mind. This is self-preservation at its finest.
All right, so
welcome back to Open, Bronxnet's interactive morning show. I'm your host, Nicholas Boston. The 2008 presidential campaign seems to be loaded with issues and questions, as always. And right now, a big question is, who will be the next president? Of course, no one knows, but here to discuss the campaigns and the candidates are political experts, political science professor Marriah Starr, and joining us on the phone is Armin Meyer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Great to see you. Now, tell me, who is your pick for Democratic frontrunner, Democratic ticket holder?
I would choose Barack Obama, senator from Illinois. Three basic reasons. First, the presidency has relationships with three institutions: the executive branch, the Congress, and the American people. The executive branch requires intelligence, the Congress requires experience, and the American people require personality, charisma. Barack Obama has all three.
And how would you say, one would think that, front-running candidates or prominent candidates will, by virtue of being in the position that they are, have those three characteristics. How does Senator Obama sort of go ahead of the pack in a sense, ahead of, say, for instance, Hillary Clinton?
Well, Obama makes up for lack of experience in the United States Senate with experience as an organizer, a community organizer in Illinois. He also has a great deal of charisma. People like him. They like to see him on television. They like to see him giving speeches. So he has automatic clout when it comes to passing legislation.
I'm David Lesh, and welcome back to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. For months, we have introduced the candidates and given you the results of each primary. Today, adjunct professor and Open's political correspondent Marriah Starr is back to give us more details on what's happening with the 2008 election. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here again.
Still exciting. Give us a little bit of an update. What's been going on? McCain offering that, let's say, Obama is not offering, or Obama offering that McCain's not offering. Where's the difference there? Where are they really differing in terms of their views?
Well, they're appealing to their strengths. So McCain's strength obviously is in national security. he was a POW. He was in a prisoner of war camp in Vietnam. So his message is, we must succeed in Iraq. Elect me as a president who will keep you secure, just like Bush has for the past 8 years. So he is really trying to tie everything into a security framework, saying Obama is not prepared to be commander-in-chief, but I am. Obama is saying, okay, look, the Iraq war is important, but what about the price of gas? What about the home mortgage crisis? This is an economy about the election. And the polls show that people agree with him, that the economy is much more important now in their minds than the Iraq war.
And you're back here on Open. Darren Jaime here with you. Yesterday, the 2008 presidential campaign took a major step forward as 24 states held primary elections to help determine who will represent each party in the general election. Had some surprising state-by-state results that left the Democratic candidates in a tight battle. Professor Marriah Starr of Lehman College is here to give us more insight, and good to have you here.
Nice to be here again. Thank
When
you
you talk about Super Tuesday was considered to be, in many aspects, the final, or actually the finish line of the race for the Democratic and the Republican nominations for the presidency. We do know out of the Republican Party there was a clear front runner.
Yes.
Democrats still up in arms, well, not up in arms, but up in the air, I should say, as to who their candidate is going to be. In regards to this had to be number one, a Super Tuesday, and two, are you surprised by the results?
This was a Super Tuesday. By any measure, you're correct. It's a historic Super Tuesday. Never before in the history of the United States have 22 states voted simultaneously on a single day for a primary.
But McCain led among Latinos and Asians the second and third largest voting blocks behind whites among California voters. Interesting trend there.
It is very interesting, and it shows something very specific about McCain. He has broad appeal in the same way that Obama does. McCain appeals to independents, to moderates, and to other ethnic voters, like Hispanics. In contrast, the typical Republican voter has mostly been white and male in the past, and McCain is struggling to get those voters. If you look at the turnout, the evangelicals went for Huckabee. So that's why Huckabee carried Tennessee, he carried West Virginia, he carried Alabama. Whereas McCain, he's trying to get those conservatives now to rally behind him. And that's a very tough battle for him. I mean, this is ultimately going to be a contest between McCain and the entire Republican Party.
And of course, that's just about all of the precincts that are reporting here in the borough of the Bronx. And was that any kind of surprise at all to see McCain take it the way that he did in such a commanding fashion?
No, it was no surprise at all. The surprise for most people around the country was Huckabee. The media has been very successful at portraying the Republican fight as one between McCain and Romney. And Huckabee came in and said, actually, it's between McCain and Huckabee, because what you have here are the two dominant wings of the Republican Party that are fighting it out. What you have is a very strong debate starting in the 60s of what is the proper role of the church in society. You have Vatican II with the Catholic Church. You have liberation theology with the Protestant Church. And those two forces, they're liberating forces on the one hand, but you had a very strong reaction from Protestants in the Christian society in the U.S. saying, well, if they're going to be pushing social justice, as Martin Luther King was doing, or as other Catholic ministers were doing, well, we want to maintain order, we want to maintain doctrine. And so what's happened is that there has become this new movement to establish doctrine, to establish very strict guidance, strict adherence. So denominations, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Mormon, Muslim, he's saying we're all the same. And we all have the same values, we all have the same foundations. What he's trying to do with this speech, and it's a very interesting speech, he's trying to unite the religious community against the non-religious community. You see, John Kennedy in '60 did the exact opposite. He said, I'm a Catholic, but as president, I will not let my Catholic religion inform my decisions. I will instead have the interest of the state first. What Romney's saying here is, I'm a Christian first, politician second, just as we're all religious first and citizens second. So it's a completely different approach. the exact opposite message that Kennedy gave in '60.
But yet, hello again, and thank you again for joining us. Darren Jaime here with you. You are watching The Bronx, Your Voice, Your Vote 2008. We are answering all of your election questions, as well as being joined by political contributors Miguel Perez, Bob Nolan, and Mariah Starr.
And from Iraq.
Most of the issues having to do with Iraq are controlled by two men, President Maliki and General Petraeus. Those two men have been instrumental in A, making surge work, and B, setting the timetable. Every politician, whether it's Obama, McCain, or Bush, has been responding to those two people. If those two people are wrong, then the politicians are wrong. So what you have here is the surge worked because Petraeus took advantage of it to persuade the Sunnis and the Shiites to go against al-Qaeda and to work together.
What's wrong with that?
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And Maliki told our candidates, look, we want your troops out because we do not want an occupation. We want to help the Iraqi people and the Iraqi army to get back off its feet. So what you have here is Obama's position has been vindicated by the events, and that's what people are turning to it.
Show that particularly in the area of the economy, Barack Obama has almost a 20-point lead by poll numbers in regards to dealing with America and the economy, and then he gets the endorsement of Colin Powell, which in the minds of some people have really endorsed him in the area of foreign policy. Has Barack Obama really solidified himself in the hearts of most American people as a person that first can lead in the area of foreign policy, and second of all, with the economic downturn that we're seeing right now?
In regard to foreign policy, I think he's doing better than he was, say, a month ago, especially because the level of foreign crises abroad, especially Iraq and Afghanistan, has played into the policy pronouncements that Obama's already made. And the Powell endorsement was key for helping to get independents and moderates on Obama's side. With regard to the economy, you're right, he's 20 points ahead right now, but if you look at the poll numbers, the key area, the key time, in fact, was mid-September. That's when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. This is exactly the time when the economy became the major news item for the entire country. During the debates in October, McCain and Obama showed themselves to be very different types of people. Obama was very calm, very deliberative, very reassuring. McCain was very testy, very angry. Americans want a reassuring, calm leader in an economic crisis, and Obama fits that bill. These who would face the same situation. The complexity of the problems and the depth of the problems are so great, neither nominee will be able to handle it. I mean, this is way more than Mitt Romney, a businessman, could handle. This is way more than any policy analyst like Clinton could handle. Everyone's in the dark. Even recent Nobel Prize winner Paul Krugman said, I have no idea what's going to happen next. Because we're all interconnected. And every single part of the economy that we thought was here, the banks, commercial spending, everything is going down. So we have a situation here where you have politicians who are expected to do something, and they haven't a clue. No one has a clue at all. So we're facing the unknown here. And I don't see any reason to doubt that Obama would do a worse job than Clinton.
Socialized healthcare, I had an experience. It really was an eye-opening experience for me. Took my mother to the doctor. As I took my mother to the doctor, we were sitting around talking, and the doctor was saying, he says, listen, I understand patients have a problem receiving health care insurance, and they're struggling, and they're going through. He said, but I want you to know, we struggle and we go through too, because sometimes here we are, and we have to live off of these insurance claims, and sometimes the insurance companies don't even honor our claims, and therefore we can't get paid. They're saying that on both ends, the patient as well as the doctor suffer in the issue of health care. Universal health care package, will it work?
Well, that's the thing. The insurance companies have way too much power. If the Republicans leave healthcare to the marketplace, the insurance companies come in and they use a market leverage to dominate everything, and they end up skewing the entire process toward the rich. You have the rich being able to pay very nice premiums and getting very good health care, and everyone else being left out. We have a system now that is suffering because of that. If the government goes toward socialized medicine, not socialism, but socialized medicine, it will help alleviate the problems that we're talking about.
It's proved to be very successful across the country.
And Mariah, I heard you wanted to even extend it out a little bit further.
Yeah, voting should be a holiday. either Tuesday as a holiday or a weekend or an entire week. I mean, this is what India does. They have, I think, 1 or 2 weeks of voting. That is what a democracy should be like. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your job and your work to go vote. But let me make one very important point. I think this is critical for other states, especially swing states. In 2004, a lot of voters went into polls with electronic voting booths and saw that when they voted for Kerry, it showed Bush's result. This was covered in John Conyers' report to Congress in January of 2005. We need to make sure that when voters go to the polls, if the machine says something different than what they selected, they need to report that right away. Report whatever fraudulent signs you see, report whatever shenanigans you see, whatever dirty tricks you see, because the right to vote is sacrosanct. It cannot be messed with. And if we have voting lines that are long, that's one thing that can be fixed. But if the machines themselves are messed up, that is what is critical. So we need to focus on that more than anything else on Election Day.
Generation Engage is a nonpartisan youth civic engagement initiative that connects young Americans to political leaders. And here now to tell us a little bit about the initiative is our political correspondent, Marriah Starr, and outreach coordinator Jason Page, and Ariel Noreen Sims, right?
Right.
There you go. I'm doing good with names today. And we welcome you guys to the show. And
Nice to be here again.
Starr, good to have you again. Tell us a little about this.
Well, Generation Engage is collaborating with the Lehman College Political Club. It's a club that I started last semester. Mr. Miranda Singh is the president. And the whole purpose of the club is to interface nonprofit organizations and social businesses with the Lehman College community and the CUNY system, the City University of New York. And so we have interacted with Generation Engage to open up engagement strategies, interacting students with political figures, as well as helping them to become more engaged in their communities. And so that's why I'm excited to have Jason here to talk more about that.
And I got
To piggyback on the example already set by other organizations out there. Americans for Democracy, which was founded by Seth Green back in 2002. And there are others like Do Something, which provides seed money to young students, as well as Youth Venture. What these organizations do ultimately is tap young people and say, you have a good idea, here's the money to make it happen. And you can work with your peers. Now, as Mr. Anderson said, students aren't that engaged. But that's because at Lehman College you have primarily an urban college. It's a student base that has working hours. You know, they go after class, they have jobs, so they don't really have an incentive to get involved. Whereas at an elite college like maybe Columbia or Harvard, they would. So what we're trying to do is bring that elite experience to the college level in an urban atmosphere. And I think Generation Engage is a key element in that process.
And we guys, of course, we're going to have you guys back to